and welcome to Fine is a Four-Letter Word. My guest today is the infamous Lisa David Olson. Welcome.
Thanks for having me, lady.
I am so honored to have you on my show because, I don't know, we've known each other for a while through social media primarily, and you have been indirectly responsible for a couple of the other guests we've had on Fine is a Four-Letter Word. With episode 4, I had Eve Malzahn, and Eve was, her episode was called Prostitutes, Pain, and Power. We were in a Facebook group together that you had invited me into that group. That's how I met Eve. So you were somewhat responsible for that. And then episode 28, Healed Through Gratitude with Jennifer Garman.
So that's some powerful guests on a great podcast. I'm so glad. And I did get to hear the one with Eve, and I'm definitely going to check out the one with Jennifer. And I love the show and just how open it is. You really are spreading the word around, and I like that because it's a comfortable place to just really talk.
We're going to talk a little bit about your podcast as well because I'm a huge fan. And but we'll get to that in a minute. Let's start with the question of what were the values and beliefs that you were raised with that influenced you as you grew up?
I think my values that I was raised with and the guidance was basically don't do what we're doing. That's the kind of household I grew up in. With
do as we say, not as we do.
Yeah, they weren't really around. No helicopters in my parents, that's for sure. So no, it was a different time, and my mother was a alcoholic who was a functioning alcoholic. And as I got older, I understood that she was self-medicating whatever her mental issues might have been. But as a kid, you don't know that. You just know I can't have friends over because stuff could happen in the night. So she would often grab us out of bed and have us clean, scrub the toilets or dig through the garbage, who threw away the mushrooms, that kind of stuff. And then the next day, yay, McDonald's and presents. Oh, have a Beanie Baby. Here's food. I don't think we had Beanie Babies back then, but it was more like that. So it was definitely the highs and lows. And my dad is awesome and kind and gentle, but he was just never there when that was happening, whether he was in his den or left the house. It was a very weird time. So basically I learned what not to do, actually. And I just never, ever, ever treated my own children that way. If that's my legacy, I did okay.
Yeah, I would imagine so. So self-reliance was something that you learned.
That's for certain. I left home at 17. I was out of there. 10th grade, I left school, left home, never went back to either. Well, I did go back to school, but not that school. I never went back. My oldest sister was 19, got pregnant, then married to a man that had 3 kids. So at 19, she was a mother of 4. No washer and dryer.
Wow.
And then she had a second one right away. So it was then my next brother, older than me, did a lot of hiding, and they both were morbidly obese. And I had eating disorder the other way. And then the youngest of us 4 was pretty much the baby, and really, he doesn't remember all that stuff. I don't think he was pulled out of bed or anything like that. So we are not close as a family whatsoever. We all it was surviving whatever you could do to survive and just make it another day.
Wow. Okay. So you escaped, we'll say escaped at 17. And where did you go and what happened?
I got an apartment. My older brother did end up sharing an apartment with me. We were so broke. We would have like $10 for the week. I was working. I would take a bus and go clean hotel rooms. And I didn't drive at that point yet. And I just remember we would make a hot dish and then just keep adding stuff to it through the week. It would end up just being like noodles, some tomato sauce, here's corn, here's peas, whatever. So I just remember us being extremely broke. And we actually were happy though. And we knew in the moment that these are the days we're going to look back at and say, yeah, that sucked, but we did it. We survived. At least we're happy. And it was a tough time, but I look back at that as feelings I felt safe. That's pretty dang important.
Wow. Yes, that's extremely important, especially given the environment you are
Right.
coming from.
Yes, it meant everything. I knew my brother cared about me and that he was protecting me, and I could sleep through the night and not worry. I mean, I still have night frights, but I can talk myself through it, and kind of get logical about it.
Mm-hmm. And how long were you living
My
in
brother
that?
and I think we lived together maybe a year, and then I ended up in another apartment with a girlfriend, and then met my first husband to be, and from there have always been married, but not to the same guy. I'm on my third. I keep wearing him out.
Well, it's hard to keep up with somebody who's as
You got that
energetic as
right.
you are.
I
So
wear
it's
myself out.
understandable.
Yeah,
I
you
get
got that right.
it. Wow. Okay. So how did your adult life progress? Like, I mean, you kind of had to raise yourself. So how did it work when you were then an adult? Like, did you have the tools you
Yes, I've
needed?
always been a worker, and I've always gone toward older people. And so I've just never not worked. I've almost always had two jobs. So I don't know where that came from, but my sons have that as well, that work means something and that you work and that's your character. Downtime, yes, but is your work done? And that's a fault of mine. But I've just always worked and just wanted to be a survivor. And I think that is just from, I can do this. I got this, and just making it work.
Yeah.
So at least I have that in me. And when I think about it right now, my mother always was working. Like I said, she was a functioning alcoholic. I don't remember her missing work. And I don't know how. I don't know how, because she had some wild nights. Some things happened,
So obviously you got that value maybe of hard work
Right.
is important.
Yes.
Or hard work is
Or
essential, at
does
least.
it define you? That's not healthy, but that's what it is. That's what it was. I'm still a hard worker.
Yeah, a lot of people.
For sure.
Right. A lot of people define themselves by their ability to work hard.
Right. I'm with you there.
Yeah, and to right, sometimes to their detriment. Like, there's nothing wrong with working hard. That's an admirable trait. And at the same time, so many times we define ourselves by our work and maybe don't allow ourselves to have fun because, well, I just have to work.
Yes, a friend of mine just was putting in
That's
some training over in Sweden from, I think he's in Ohio, and he's over in Sweden training. And he said, wow, I think I'm getting used to this culture. Where he was, definitely was more into the breaks, the sustenance, the relaxation time, and the downtime and self-care. He just said they don't work these crazy hours. And he said they're happier, they're healthier.
yeah. That's a very European thing. They think Americans are insane.
There's something.
And sometimes I think Americans are insane when I
There's
look at them as
something
well.
to it.
Although then I look at, I'm one of them.
Here we are.
Not just one of the Americans who works hard and doesn't necessarily take the breaks that I know I should. Yeah. Yeah. So what do you do when you're not working?
I paint.
What do you allow yourself now?
Hooked on yoga and painting and writing. So I'm constantly going, and I podcast. But writing can sometimes net a few bucks, which feels good, or an award. We all like stickers. And painting, I've sold some.
Yes.
I give some as gifts. I usually don't give too many as gifts because I don't want to force my art on anyone. But I just started painting last year because both my boys draw. And I was like, well, maybe I should try something. And it turns out I really like it because if you screw it up, it's a learning. And you can paint over it, man. Do over. That favorite key on the keyboard for me is undo, do over. So with painting, that's what I can do. And I listen to crime podcasts while I paint. And my husband said, you have the most beautiful scenes, these flowers, these trees, the reflection on the water. And you're listening to people being stabbed and all these things. I'm like, well, balance, baby. Yin yang.
Exactly. What kind of painting are you doing? Is it watercolor?
It's
Is it
acrylic.
oils? What are you using?
I like to do
Acrylic.
some flowers. I'm saying the word some, SOME. And a lot of times I'm doing
Yep.
resin art. So I have flowers from my actual garden, and then I coat it
cool.
in resin so that I have this perpetual garden.
Oh,
And
wow.
I've done,
Very cool.
I also like abstract because it's very hard to do. Because when are you done? I don't know. So it's just like, I'll paint with my hands sometimes, or you might find a dog paw in there, whatever. We do have a dog, otherwise that would be really strange.
All right.
Yeah.
Some dog off the street. Yeah, I know. You have Munch, and he makes a lot of appearances on social media,
my
on Facebook.
pun partner.
Yes, I love that.
Yes.
So I was asking about the painting because for my birthday, my friend Tracy and I went to one of those paint bars and paid $50 to paint a picture. And I liked it so much, but I don't want to have to pay $50 every time I just want to pick up a paintbrush. So I was like, wow, I've never really done it before. I didn't know I had any interest in doing it.
Well, and
it
that's
was fun.
Probably if it was at a bar, you had some liquid courage in you and you let your guard down. You said, why the heck not?
I actually didn't have any alcohol that night. Tracy had some hot chocolate, but we did, like, in true entrepreneurial style, they lead you through a specific picture that there's somebody painting. And they have, the colors, they already have the color palette paint in front on a plate for you. Yeah. And it was like greens and blues and some purple. And Tracy and I go in there and we're like, can we have some pink? How about some orange? Can I have some orange? My picture is a general semblance of what they were painting, but it is not at all.
That's awesome. That's what it's all about. Yes,
Yeah,
express.
Gotta do your own thing.
I see your greens and blues, but I'm feeling pink today, so here's an extra 5. Let's find the pink
That's
here.
Right. That's right. We didn't even have to pay them extra. They're like, yeah, we're happy to make you happy. So since it is called fine is a 4-letter word, tell me your story of being stuck in a place where everything was fine, or not everything. You said everything was fine, but it really wasn't fine.
That just goes right back to the childhood issues where you had to pretend with your friends that you had a normal household, but you couldn't invite anybody over. You couldn't have overnights, that kind of thing, because you never knew. So you could kind of pretend, and that's where humor comes into play, and distraction. Look over there. Hey, I'm funny. I'm cute. And then, the first marriage, you try and make it work. You got a couple of kids, and it wasn't fun. But you're married, and you're helping him run a karate studio, so you don't want to mess everything up, and all those things. But eventually, it wasn't, and we were still living together but separated, and it was just horrible. But we found our way through, and we did divorce, and we are very, very close. Very good friends, and my husband Todd knows and respects my first husband as well, and so, hey, I need help moving this shelf, and okay, come on over. So when you have an ex, always be friendly. You just never know when you need heavy stuff moved, and I think that's important.
Right.
But I'm honestly there for him too.
Yeah,
he's not great with social media, and I'm always rallying for it. Like, he's about to do a polar plunge in the Mississippi in the middle of winter to raise money for Special Olympics. And I'm like, hey, everybody help chip in. And because he doesn't like to go, look at me, help me. So we're on board with that. And at least my boys know that part and how that can work. We can all be together for a dinner. So I did act like it was fine until I just couldn't anymore. And that was hard. That was hard.
Right. Yeah, it is hard. And I think, that's also the reason why my program is called Fuck Being Fine. Like, you just reach a point where you're like, I cannot do this one more day.
It is. And
it's fine
until it's
affecting
affecting you
fine.
Physically. And that's when you know that, could I go back to what I was doing? Well, then maybe change is what you need. I mean, I guess it goes back to when I was 17 and I took off. It was a bottom line, but you're so scared of the unknown. But you know what else is scary? The known, and staying in the known. That's not good.
It's not good, but a lot of people do it because it is known. And it's more comfortable, let's say. than
that's
the
where we
unknown.
get physical
Even
issues.
though it's uncomfortable, but it's right. And yeah, physical, psychological, emotional, all these things that you're trying to shove down eventually come out.
It's going to come out of somewhere. Absolutely right. And that's hard because we could have even best friends and not really know what they're dealing with. I don't find that social media is not the spot to do it. I don't respect that. I don't want to see it. I don't want to see on Facebook how sad you are. Just call me. One of the things I'm very proud of as a friend, I reach out to people when I think of them. I'll text them or Facebook message and just say, I thought of you and I just smiled and I hope your day is great. And I mean it. If I think of you and I send you that note, you know, who wouldn't want that? You're not asking me for anything. I don't need to answer you. I can if I want. And maybe if I am having a crappy day, maybe I'll say, I need it. And that is what I get 90% of the time, which is a made up stat, is the response, I needed that just then.
Yes, because you are tapping into some kind of intuition that person needed to hear from you. I've heard that from other people that they do that, something similar, and they get the same kind of response like, man, you don't know how much I need.
When do we not need that? It was cool. You didn't need anything, but I meant something to someone. I came across your brain. That's kind of swell.
Yes. I love that. So one of the tools that you have used to cope with things being fine or less than fine is something that we have not talked about on this show. Because I'm always asking, like, so what tools did you use to move?
Is this about my streaking?
And your streak?
No, I don't.
No,
streak.
do tell.
I just wondered. We want viewership. We want listeners.
Did I hear that rumor?
We need listeners.
Hashtag
we need
streaker.
listeners. Come listen to Lisa talk about streaking.
In the winter, in Wisconsin.
In the winter, in Wisconsin.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Tell me about what.
Yeah, no, tell me about what the tools are that you have used in dealing with situations that were
One
less
word,
than
2
fine.
syllables. Humor. Humor. It's my deflector. It covers when I don't know the answer. I just gave a presentation today and I was just open about it. I said, humor is my coping mechanism. It's one that I'm busted on all the time. I had a therapist say, you don't always have to entertain me. And I've even had a physician say that. Do you think you have to be funny all the time? Like, damn, some people pay for this. What are you talking about? I'm paying you. You will laugh. But it is the deflection of it I learned early on. And as a kid, I used to pretend that Carol Burnett was raising me. And I knew that she had alcoholic parents and her grandma was taking care of her. And I was like, she understands me. And Harvey Korman and Tim Conway are my uncles. And I live with her and all these things. And it meant the world to me to be in her world, even though she doesn't have a clue who I am. We have been in the same room once. I saw her in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Never got picked to ask a question. Dang it. But we breathed the same air one night about 4 years ago.
Now is a good time to mention, because you never know who's listening, that 6 degrees of separation, that if you had one person in the entire universe to meet, who would it be, Lisa?
My other mother, Carol Burnett. And that is almost what I named my book was I Was Raised by Carol Burnett. That was going to be the name. And yeah, was going to be it. And Carol, I know you listen to this show. I just want you on my podcast. I would only take 10 minutes. That's a lie. I would stretch it out. All I need is 10 minutes, just a quick call. That's it. Just so I can tell you how much you mean to me and we'll be good. So now we'll wait.
Don't you think if you had named your book that it would have gotten her attention?
Yes, and I could have been sued probably. So there's a whole chapter about her, but it's, yes, certainly not the name of it because what if I got sued? That would not be neat. I don't know.
For using her name?
Maybe.
Using her
stating
name?
that I was raised by her. I doubt that she needs the money.
Talk about taking risks. I
Yeah,
might have done
you're
it.
right. Because if I did I can still write another book. But
You could
reissue it, republish it.
bad publicity is publicity. Sure, I got sued, but I'm famous and I got to meet her in court.
All right.
That's right. All right. Well, maybe we don't want to be
Maybe
sued by
not.
Carol Burnett, but
I
you do want to meet her. So we're putting it out to the
yes,
universe.
I will send prizes to whoever can make that connection.
All right. We got that.
All right. We got that. It's interesting that you say that humor is your coping mechanism because like I said, we haven't had somebody talk about, we've talked about using gratitude and meditation and EFT tapping and all these other great tools for moving past being stuck in a place where everything was fine or less than fine. But humor is also such an important tool.
Yes.
Not everybody can use it as, I guess doesn't suit everybody.
I know the puns that I have a passion for do not suit my husband. He acts very upset. I could pun you about cheese for 5 minutes. That's a Gouda one. Is that cheddar? Oh, great. But I won't. Humor is a connector, and it raises our endorphins and it lowers our blood pressure. So that is some damn fine, affordable healthcare. And it also, in the moment, if you and I were in the grocery store and we had a quick chitty chat about, those oranges, I didn't even see those, blah, blah, blah. And we've connected, maybe we make a joke or somebody walks through and says, let me juggle those. We're going to laugh. And then the next interaction to the cashier and whatever is joy. There's this ripple effect of joy. And that is what's so important about humor. And we need more punchlines and less headlines. More punchlines, less headlines, especially before bed, especially upon waking. Look up that old show you love and look at bloopers. I have just a joy for bloopers. And on my podcast, every episode we talk about a dare or a prank that my guest has done or had done to them or knows of, because I have a passion for pranks. And I work with cops in the day.
I love that you ask your guests that. Is there one, since you brought it up, is there somebody who stands out in your mind for something that they said that they pranked somebody or that they had done to them?
What's so fun is I could talk to an author about something, and we're talking about the subject of their book, and all my guests are unique, weirdos, strangers, strange in the best possible way. And then when you ask dare or prank, we almost always go back to younger self, which is sad because you should still be pranking, but in a nice way, of course, not the mean things. But it's so fun to see that flip in their personality and their storytelling. And I'm majorly into storytelling. One of them was this really serene guy, Richard Matthews. He's very high intelligent, lives in an RV with like 4 or 20 kids and his wife. I'm like, you go, boy. And his history... 4 or 20. To me, anything over 2 is a lot. No, they've got 4 kids. And if they should have more, they'll have more, he said. And they're in an RV. So 4, 20, doesn't matter, does it? And a giant dog. So he's very intelligent, and just they're homeschooling and they're traveling, and the kids are standing in historical places instead of reading about it. Pretty interesting. And the way that they have to live is so, so different. But then you talk about dare or pranks, and whoop, it all flipped. And he's talking about in college how the doors to the dorms were in-swinging, and 2 guys would go to somebody else's dorm. One would knock, and the other one would be naked and doing a handstand, and you can figure out the visual when you open the door. They called it flying squirrel, and I'm not 100% on that. Okay. But that's one I didn't see coming. nor did the dorm person. And then there was a female, and right now I'm not thinking of the guest, but she was telling me that she and her dad were sitting on the porch. I think she and her brother and her dad were sitting on the front porch, and a car pulled up and grabbed a girl off the sidewalk. Dad jumped up over the porch like a Superman. She'd never seen him move like that, and ran toward the car and grabbed the person before that car had the person in the car. And I guess the car was actually pranking anybody that was looking. They were making it look like an abduction. Dad was having none of that. And when she tells it, it's so much more colorful. But to just think about sitting there with your dad, and all of a sudden he just becomes Superman and flies over the porch wall and actually apprehends the, It's like, when you think of these different things, like,
Right.
that's not a friendly prank, but it was one that stuck out in my head.
Definitely a good visual.
Definitely a good visual, for sure.
Yeah,
So- and
for those
it,
of you who are
so
listening
yeah, for
right
those
now,
of you who are listening right now, Lisa's podcast is called Stranger Connections, and I'll put a link in the show
Thank
notes for
you.
that as well.
Like, I've been a
So I've been a fan for a long time. In fact, I was listening to your podcast way
Oh,
before I started
cool.
mine.
That means a lot.
yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, cool. Okay, well, where are we going from here?
Now I'm off track.
Now I'm on-
Since
now
we
I'm
were
off
talking
track.
about,
well,
well,
Greg will fix this part.
I'll say something else about humor. So when you think about comics, so many of them really are dark, and humor is their outside face. You think about Robin Williams, and I mean that
Yes.
always comes to mind for me. Or you hear things about, I don't know, Jim Carrey or something when they're being characters. When you're being a character, because I'm an actress as well, I had a comedy troupe for 20 years. When you're a character, you can do what you want. You don't have to be you. You don't have to answer to the people in your circle. And so that's why it's such a great escape for a lot of people. So generally, I'm going to say performers are generally trying not to be themselves for a good, 2 hours while they get to be on stage. So a lot of times that's what humor can be, is a veil or a mask.
Yes.
And applause.
Yeah, and then people are
so surprised to find out the real person
Yes.
behind it.
And you may never find out that person. I've hosted a lot of stand-up comedy, and the person on the stage is a persona. You think you know that person on stage, and that's a great performer. Mm-hmm. And then behind the scenes, if you were the one emceeing them and you were in the green room with them, they might not even want you to speak to them or look at them or anything, because they have to get into that zone. But that's just their stage persona. That's certainly not that person. It sounds like, oh, my wife and oh, my kid did this. I'm sorry, that's all theater. And I can't say 100% of them, but there's a reason people want to be a different character or want to make you laugh, because applause is approval. Laughter is acceptance. That's what I always say for myself.
You have experience with
improv,
yes,
as well.
Tell us a little bit about
how somebody would use improv to improve their level of success, whether that was in business or in life.
I love that question, Lori. Love it, because that's what I teach corporate, is improv for every day or for real life. And it is a way to think about a scene. And it's, just today I was in a workshop and I was teaching, and I said, who else has done improv? Nobody. And I said, just raise your hand if any of this aligns with you. Does anyone have a partner? Does anyone have a boss? Does anyone have a kid? Does anyone have a sibling? Does anyone have a roommate? We all do improv. It just doesn't mean that it means you're not on the stage in the spotlight style, but we are all improvising. Look at the last 2 years. Oh my gosh, we're going to have to quarantine for 2 weeks. I'll never be able to do that. Well, guess what? You did. So whether you did it gracefully or no, you did it because you're here and you're listening. But improv for business world would be thinking about the scene. Lori and I are in a scene, and we ask the audience, give me a place where two people might meet. Somebody yells out, a clinic lobby. And now Lori and I get on there, and if I say to Lori, oh, this movie theater is so amazing. And if Lori said, we're not in a movie theater, pow, scene is done, the end. That's called a roadblock. So now I'll go backwards. We're both in the clinic lobby. We just were told that. I step up. I go, look at the movie theater. It's so amazing. And Lori says, wasn't that brilliant that they put that here at the clinic? Boom. Now we're going forward. She just did the yes and that's what yes and is. And you can use that in business. When your boss says something, don't talk back. Don't bring your boss a problem. Bring them an idea for what you think could work. Don't go, you know what? This copier is like the piece of crap and it never works. Or you call the company and say, hey, is this under warranty? I just wanted to talk to my boss about possibly replacing it. You go to the boss. You say, I've noticed that this is bad, but I found out we can do this. Yes, that is what you do. That's how it works for business. It also is about listening. So if your partner blocks you in a scene, they're not listening to you or building on what you said. That works at work. It works in relationships, whether it's your kid or your partner, whatever. Build on what they said. Let them know they were heard. And that also builds trust along the way. That's my short version of how that works in real life.
I was just on a sales training call, I guess is the best way to describe it, earlier this week. And we were talking about the saying yes more. You know, a lot of people say yes to everything, and that's a different issue of overfilling your plate and saying yes and not having boundaries and not being able to say no. But this was more about our initial response as humans is to say no. Somebody asks you a question or asks you to come do something with me. No, I'm busy. Or, no, I don't have time. Or like our first response is typically no, because I don't know what I'm getting into. And the person who was teaching it was encouraging us to say yes to the opportunity. Yes, and because we were talking about improv, interestingly enough, about how you do that in improv. Yes,
it's also a way to, and you don't have to say those actual words, but it's a mindset. And
right.
I work with every spring. It's just so darn fun. It's 5th and 6th graders that get to come to the college in our town, and they're the gifted students. And so their celebration is a whole day of choosing different rooms to go to. One is the newscasters, and another one they're going to wall climb, make slime, come do improv. I call it Improv Station. And it's just so fun to play with them and see what they can build from it and learn from that as well. And just thinking that way is so fun, and not saying no or roadblocking. And it works for adults as well. It just doesn't even matter the ages of it. And that's the best part, because it's stating that you go with the idea. So I like that you said that too. And it is. And and you don't have to say yes to everything, but you can build off what somebody says, because we all want to be heard.
Right. Using this in meetings instead of shutting somebody down. No, that's a dumb idea. Like, even if you don't say it exactly.
Body language can be quite loud.
Yeah, being open to see where it leads.
It is.
Open to possibilities. I mean, really, that's what we're talking about on this show a lot, is being open to possibilities and where can it lead.
To play with yes and is such a way to explore and play. And when I get to hang out with the 5th and 6th graders, and my only rule is let's not make everything a butt joke, because I've learned that early on. I mean, farts are funny, I'll be honest, but I just don't want them to come away with, gosh, we just did a whole scene of farts, Mom. That was great with that one lady. So no, we don't want to do that. But it's just,
that's not the reputation you want.
But to allow yourself to explore and play and get down on the floor instead of sitting at your desk. Take your laptop into a different room. Do you need quiet? When's the last time you took a walk without earbuds? When's the last time you drove in silence to hear your own thoughts? And move the room you're in, move the scent. Let's talk about scent, sound, feel, taste. I drink hot water. Sometimes I'll throw a lime in there or something. Change stuff. Some people need to be in a loud coffee house. And that's where I did a lot of comedy writing. I don't know what it was about grabbing my laptop and going to a coffee house, but the chatter. And there's even on one of the music channels, or I'm sure you can find it, coffee house sounds, where it's not just coffee house music, but also the sounds of the dull chatter and clinking of cups and stuff. And sometimes, yeah,
I've heard that.
It's so cool. So if that's what you need, it changes your energy. It's just great.
So I was changing the scene of where you are, and especially since so many people now have been working from home, they're tired of seeing the same four walls, and now that we can get out a little bit more, going to a coffee house, going to a park, if you live in a place where it's not 3 below zero right now.
A friend of mine has coffee every day. He goes to the drive-through every day, and he goes and sits at a park every day. And he posts every day what song he's listening to and what he's thinking about. And that's comforting for him. He gets out of his house to go do that. And that has become his routine.
Yeah.
And I always look forward to his posts because I don't know why that settles me. It's just like, oh, there he is.
That's cool. And that's cool. And coming back to the whole idea of play, which is a topic that we've talked about on the show before, about how weirdly difficult it is for a lot of people to find something that's fun. Like, what is fun for me anymore? Or what would be playful? What could be something that I could do that is playful? Because we are humans, are animals, and animals need to play. But we don't allow it because, in part, coming back to the whole we were talking about at the beginning about being responsible and being hardworking, but also because we just don't know anymore, because we spent so much time overcoming that by working hard. What is fun? What would be playful?
Yeah.
And, you just talked about several things, your painting and the improv, the comedy, all the fun things that you're doing. You're doing a lot of fun
Kids laugh, 112
self-care.
times a day, their belly laugh, true belly laugh. And as we get older, we belly laugh less and less because no, 2 fingers, no, that means 2. No, it could be bunny ears. It could be chopsticks. It could be earplugs. It could be nose plugs. It could be anything. Nope. The teacher said that means 2. Well, it could mean peace. It could be, and as we're put in columns, or nothing against teachers, but I'm just saying, as we're put in these silos of brain, you lose that ability for imagination. It becomes, well, that's not very mature. Oh, the hell I say, because you have to have that. I'm going to jump out of an airplane at some point, so that's on my list of things that I need to explore. I need to find out, and we need that. We crave that just to make things different. And something I did early on with the pandemic, going to the store for many of us was our only social. I was so afraid, not like physically shaking afraid, but I thought, what if grocery stores close? What are we going to do? I watched The Walking Dead. This doesn't turn out well. And so the grocery store was my big social moment. And in line at the store, I did not say, how are you, to the cashier. I said, so what are you doing for fun? And I'll be damned, was that the most joy that would come? Because what are you doing for fun? And this guy at the Whole Foods kind of store, dreadlocks. The dude was like 6'2", and then with his hair, it was 6'6", just massive pile up, tie-dye t-shirt. He bends down and he looks at me and he goes, I have foster kittens at home. Do you want to see a picture? And he whips out his phone. It was adorable. And now I still see him. It's my regular store. And I'll say, how many kitties do you have? And stuff like that. We made a human connection. Another girl said, I said, what are you doing for fun? I mean, they look at you kind of weird. And the conversation that came out of that was so much more than, did you find everything? Yes. You good? How are you? Good. Mm-hmm. I'm not good, damn it. But I don't want to talk about it either. And this girl told me about her dance team and how even with masks, they could still meet safely, and they were going to put on a performance, and she was thrilled. I asked her about it, a week or 2 later. How'd the show go? It meant the world to her. So much different than, you good? I'm good.
I love that you asked that. And at the same time, I'm thinking in my head, well, yeah, but you live in the Midwest. And that wouldn't fly here in the Mid-Atlantic or the Northeast. People will be like growling at you.
I challenge you
to
try that.
I don't know. Maybe I'll try it next time I go. I'm thinking in my head, and Trader Joe's would be the place to do that because those people are more sociable.
No, you're overthinking it. You just ask somebody, what are you doing for fun? And it takes them off guard a second. And they'll usually tell you. I've never had anyone mad at me. You're right. I'm in Minnesota, Wisconsin right there. But I've asked it at other places as well. So I've been outside the Midwest.
I'm not saying you haven't been outside. I'm just saying in general, you Midwesterners are far more friendly. I worked in California.
I had a brief stay there. And it's just my thing. Because it is so you'll be surprised. So I expect a report back.
All right. You will get one. So now, while we're on the topic of fun, tell me the song that you listen to when you need to get hyped up and enthused and getting a bolt of energy.
I don't know all the words. Do I have to know all the words?
No, I'm not going to ask you. No, I'm not going to ask you to sing it.
Yeah, I'm just saying I don't know all the words. But I get hyped when I hear the band Cake. And specifically, or the way I like to say it, pacifically, just so people correct me. Pacifically, I enjoy Going the Distance, or I think it's just called The Distance. And it's so cool. And if you listen one time, listen to the horns. Listen again, listen to the bass line. Another time, listen to the singer, because he's kind of just speaking it. It's crazy. I love Cake.
I love Cake, all kinds of cake, but I love the band Cake. And it's funny that you said Pacifically, because do you know where they're from? They're from Sacramento, California. Yes. So near the Pacific. I mean, Sacramento is not on the water, but it is, yes, it is a Pacific state.
Well, that's cool. Yeah. What's your song?
Yeah. I have two songs. One is Carrie Underwood's Champion.
That's a good one.
And the other one is Van Halen's
Wow.
Right Now.
Okay. Yeah, that's a really good one.
Yeah. But I love that you said Cake because I'm a fan. I'm a big fan. I actually saw them in concert when I was living in Sacramento back in 1998, I want to say. Yeah, in a small venue. And I used to listen to, I have a couple of their albums.
Are you talking vinyl, girlfriend?
Yeah. So good.
No, I have them digital.
I have them digital now. And actually, I never had them digital. I had them on CDs, but now.
Cool. Yeah,
I have them
they even
on
redid I Will Survive. Yeah, there's some great songs.
Yes.
I'll dig it.
Yes.
I dig it.
Yes.
Well, good.
Yeah.
I'm
going to put a link to that in the show notes, as I always do. And I already said I'm going to put a link to your podcast. Where else can people find you if they want to continue a conversation with you?
On Facebook, Lisa David Olson, Olson. And I also have the Facebook group Counterclockwise. It's all humor. Please join us. I've had it a little over a year. We have 4,000 people in that place because people want to laugh. What? Yeah, I've only had it a year. It's 4,000 because we all want to laugh. And yeah, join us over there.
Yeah.
And I'm on Instagram. And if you give a crap about my art, let me know. I have an Instagram page for that as well.
Cool. Thank you so much for joining me today on Fine is a Four-Letter Word.
Thank you, Lori.
Lisa.
I really appreciate your time.
Hello and welcome.